Hello everyone, this is 19th episode of Apple Treats, and today we have a great guest, Anna Zharkova. Hi Anna.
Hi, Denise. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, we will be talking Kotlin, but don't worry, not just Kotlin, we will talk about the Swift too, and probably some of the recent news, but well, we wanted to talk Kotlin not just because Kotlin itself probably, but rather how would I call it? Like special branch of Kotlin as Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile, and how it's used on Apple platforms, and like basically how it's used overall. And in order to get this talk like right, we asked Anna to join us, and Anna is GDE, and before we will like dive deep into what GDE means and how did you get there, uh, can you briefly tell us how did you get into IT? How did you get into development? What motivated you?
Of course, at first, I was just a teenager girl, and I have a doubt what should be my future profession and what I would like to do in future. So, when I was about 13 years old, it was just like professional orientation testing, special kind of test that helps students and school boys and girls to define what their most suitable profession for them. So for me, it was something just like information technologies and development. So it was a bunch of professions that are connected with information technologies and began to prepare to this. And when I was about 15 years old, I began to learn Pascal at the most of future developers, and then I entered the university. It was Alta State Technical University, my first university, and it was not program engineering as it should be the most suitable to become a developer, but it was informational security. I
Oh,
was Yes, I was young, I was dumb, and everyone in this age full of romance. So I thought that I will be cool Russian hacker, and yes, I used to believe that here they will prepare me to become a real Russian hacker and to be cool developer. And the reality was not as my expectations. So it was some kind of information technologies specialty, but it was not development at all. Of course, first 3 years we developed something. We learned C++ and other developers subjects, but we should prepare by ourselves to become real developers. So when I was on the first grade, I had some kind of depression and I decided to become a developer. And since this time, I learned development by myself. At first, it was principle of development, and of course, I chose my first real language. So at university, I learned C++, and after the university, I learned C Sharp. It was my true love, and then Java. And and after the first university, I went to magisterium in Alta State University, not Alta State Technical University. We call this university classic. And yes, and I learned for 2 years magisterium as in applied mathematic informatic. So and during this time, I had a bunch of time to think about my life and to learn Android. So my first language and my first mobile platform was Android. As I think it's common for a lot of mobile developers because Android is the most available and cheap way to become a mobile developer.
Okay, okay. We might argue on this, but probably a little bit later. Okay, so like time passed and you're now GDE. By the way, can you
Yes.
like briefly describe what does it mean and like how hard it's to become GDE?
At first, I should say that I both Android and iOS developer, and since I become a Google developer expert in Kotlin Multiplatform technology, I'm just like a man in the middle, or maybe a man from another place, because yes, I began to learn Android at first, and I do a lot of stuff on iOS. And I, on the both specialties, I'm lead mobile developer, and it's really normal for me. Yes, my secret is I have no private life at all. So until you get kids, and it's available to become GD and to be cool expert. I think I am just like a little bit cool expert. uh, yes, I have an imposter syndrome as everyone.
Yeah.
What is Kotlin GD? Well, at first, you should be prepared that for everyone who is Android developer, you just like some kind of strange person because you are an iOS. And for iOS developers, everyone, the most of iOS developers, would like to tell you, you are not real iOS developers. Are you truly a true professional at all? Maybe you are just like kind of junior and you're telling by yourself that you are lead. For example, you was writing a code for about 2 years and then you have 5 years of management. It's just like real situation, but it's not my kind. I write code all the time. So it's really cool program by Google. Unfortunately, there is no such expertise programs by Apple. So, and there is a bunch of technologies, and we, Google developer experts, we prepare a special kind of content for every technology. We have some grade of expertise in it, so we have some kind of knowledge what is under the hood of this technology, and we help to develop this technology. We are not Googlers. We are not the people who are Google employers. We are volunteers, a special kind of volunteering. We develop the technology. We prepare content and find some kind of solutions for different situation as an expert, as a developers, as persons who use this technology in our real life. So we are from the side of user developers. We are not the developer of technology. We are the users of technology.
Yeah,
So
well,
uh, mhm.
I think that at least Apple usually calls like such guys as evangelists, technology evangelists, something like that. I mean, do you see that as this particular role?
Well, yes, it's some kind of an evangelism, same as in Microsoft, for example.
Yeah,
And there is some kind of opportunities. We have a nice opportunity to be in community, to communicate with each other, to go to special events. And in these events, it's not events just like in some kind of organizations where it's a great stage, everyone in ball gown and special costumes, and there is a brilliant manager who is talking about specialities and possibilities, and there is a fountain of champagne. No, it's events for developers where we present some kinds of slides, some kinds of talks, and we talk and find something new in these new technologies. For example, on last Tuesday, I was a no, it was last Wednesday. I was a guest on Android Worldwide Meetup with a talk about Work Manager API.
Okay.
Yes, I feel just a lot of iOS developers hate me
No, no.
at
I,
the moment.
I honestly think that's not true. And actually, we asked you to join the podcast specifically for your expertise in both. I mean, we would like to try to compare at least on the high level because
Yes.
the podcast is like we are very time limited. So I think we can just like dive deep into the topic. And since you know both Kotlin and Swift, from your perspective, what are the main similarities and what are the main differences between these two languages? I mean, they started almost at the same time, probably like, and they share some of the concepts, at least like it seems so.
Well, I started with Swift in 2015 and with Kotlin in 2017, 16, 17. So at first sight, I believed that Swift is older than Kotlin, and I was really surprised that Kotlin appeared in 2011. It was some kind of special technologies for purposes for JetBrains company own. And so what is similar? Yes, I think that the concepts and the syntaxes are really common, and it will be really comfortable for many users to try Kotlin and Swift both. And I knew that a lot of developers try to do this. For example, my colleagues, many of them, even they are really good experts and developers in one platform, they tried to do something in other platform, and in some kind of situations they could help and do something in other platform. So it's really common languages, and the main differences is in differences of platform and platform specific using with some kind of stuff that are really platform specific. It's not because of language, because we know that Swift could be used as a language not only for iOS, maybe for some kind of common code. I know that is that you developed such kind of library in your company, and you have a talk about Swift as a common library, as a language for technology for common library. So the same situation with Kotlin, and Kotlin in Kotlin Multiplatform uh, is a really good advantage for everyone who would like to learn two platforms to start with, because it's just like a little bridge between two languages, between two technologies. And when I was a young developer, when I was junior developer, I began in my first job. I was doing stuff with Xamarin Android, and then Xamarin iOS. Cross-platform technologies, when they use common part and then they use um, some kind of platform specific parts with this common part, and this platform specific part use the same principles as in native applications. It's really a good case to learn both platforms and to start with. So for me it was just like a little bridge, and I think that Kotlin multi-platform shares the same principles in its work and in its common idea, and it's not really hard for me. I well, I am not for me, but I think that it shouldn't be too hard for everyone who would like to learn both platforms. Of course, it could be some prejudices that is too hard and it takes a lot of time, and no one shouldn't do the job of other people. But if you would like to become a real expert into platforms, I think it's a really nice point to begin with.
Okay. And well, since you are anyway mostly focused on Kotlin, I assume, do you keep up with modern Swift features? Like, for example, Swift 5.5 introduced new structured concurrency, and like recently, these concurrency features are now available for all the iOS releases. So I assume there will be a lot of talks and probably like posts on the internet regarding this feature. So are you familiar with that? And can you compare these with Kotlin's approach? And maybe does Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile has something else in terms of concurrency?
Of course. Well, I'm not just a Kotlin GDE. I both working lead iOS Android developer, and I am also an iOS tutor in Autos. So it helps me to be fit with iOS even when I have most of Android code in my job, in my work. What is the common? Well, I used to watch all most of the Apple events. Unfortunately, I had no possibility to watch Apple Talks last time, but every WWDC is a point of my interest, and for me, such things as Swift new concurrency is um, it looks similar, not with Kotlin coroutines, and of course, it in some point it shares the same principle and the same structure, the same basis as Kotlin coroutines. But it for me it looks like more common with C sharp .NET parallelism. Well, I'm so cool, so I'm also was Microsoft C Sharp an expert in 2016. So because I used Xamarin and I had such a certificate. So and I love C Sharp. It's my true love, my first language, my first true love language, and then Swift and Kotlin. Well, it's really similar with this because it uses tasks and it uses the same mechanism to group in tasks, and also it uses some mechanism to deal with some kind of factors to provide some common sequences. It's really resemble with .NET parallelism.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe. By the way, like speaking of Kotlin and Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile, do I understand correctly that multi-platform mobile version like has some I would say like special cases for the concurrency, or it's like you have full support of Kotlin features in terms of coroutines on on the cross-platform code?
You're asking especially right man about this. Well, Kotlin multi-platform has used different Kotlin versions for every target it uses, and at first sight, people think that it should be common with Android application and it should be Kotlin GVM for every target, but that's wrong. Kotlin multi-platform use other versions of Kotlin language for every platform it uses. For example, for iOS, it and for Linux and macOS and Windows, it uses Kotlin native. Kotlin native share the principles of these platforms, and you need to specify for what kind of device, for what kind of architecture you would like to build your application. And in case of iOS applications, both emulator and device, you are getting in a world of Kotlin native concurrency, and it's not iOS concurrency, and both is not Kotlin GVM concurrency.
Okay.
And there is a lot of special solutions. And before Kotlin version 1.6 and new memory management model for Kotlin native, it will be arrived on spring, as it was
Okay.
announced. So it's a really path of adventure to set it up working, and it Yes, that is how I began GTE Kotlin Multiplatform. At first, my DevRel asked me to write some kind of article about Kotlin Multiplatform and first application, but I wanted to create something interesting, and the first approach, the first my attempt with simple Android iOS application that provides common architecture and common way to use concurrency got me into the world of Kotlin native concurrency. So it was my deep dive.
Okay.
Yes, I fall down in the ocean, Kotlin native. So and there is a lot of different things. For example, before new memory model, there were no way to use something that is bound with global queue. So yes, it is a way to get global queue, but there was no particular thread to bound with it. And you need to specify some kind of your own character dispatcher, so to provide your own solution. Then there was there become a possibility to use default dispatchers, but then if you would like to use it with a singleton, it was another approach because you needed to block it. So it was a really interesting solutions, and of course to define it and to combine with the Kotlin flows and some kinds of graphs dependencies. So yes, and of course it was some kind of special coroutine workers, and you need to provide freezing, a lot of freezing. You just working with freezing, and then when you freeze everything, you need to change everything, and you couldn't change freeze. So we needed a particular solution, and there is a nice documentation, and of course I wrote some kind of post about how to use this documentation to provide working solution with it. So in new memory management there is no such problems at all, and it's
Okay.
really cool, and it will be a nice way. I think that JetBrains company got a really nice job to provide all the logic we need to work with multi-threading in both iOS and Android without any problems. So they're still working in garbage collecting, but I think it's really good progress in
Okay.
um, comparing with last versions, and I love it.
Okay. So from what I hear, it seems that Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile is still is still young actually, and there might be some like good cases to use it, and maybe some cases which probably are not the best uh, place to use it. So can you name like what are the targets for the Kotlin multi-platform mobile models? What should be shared across the platforms using this technology, and what is we need to postpone until later?
Well, I think that though Kotlin Multiplatform is not too old, it's about several years, and it's currently it is in alpha, and it is going to be better in spring. So I think at this point there is it could be used in production. So for many cases, we in mobile devices just work with getting data and sending data. So mostly we're using just networking and some kind of local storage. Uh, for other cases, we can specify our platform specific logic, or maybe to do not too hard logic in common part, but we can specify it both common or both separate native, and it could be used in production. And there is a lot of good working example. For example, Netflix uses production. Yandex uses and other companies. So there is a page in web page in Japan Science, and there is a lot of contributors and users of this technology at the moment.
Okay.
One case you couldn't use this, it's to provide common user interface, but it's not technology for user interface. It's just like a technology to share common business logic. And if you understand this, there is no problem. I think so. So, and in most cases, you don't need some kind of hard multi-threading in your application, and there is some kind of simple solution you can use it in your
Okay.
application at the moment.
Um, Let me ask you one question, and I like I would like to hear your honest answer to this. So, do you see any weaknesses in Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile? I mean, like, is it something which is like definitely needs improvement? Like, besides the memory management model, which will be changed soon, but is there something which is like from your perspective again, like definitely needs attention from the developers?
Well, speaking honestly, so there is some kind of documentation that there is now not everything clear at moment with garbage collection because it has its own specifics in both platforms. And when we use it with Android, there is no problem because GVM, the same thing. But with other platforms, there are specifics, and we know that sometimes it could be really hard to turn one code from another because of different architecture of technologies and its and what is under its hood. Well, for me, it's just garbage collection, and I think in other moment when there will be no third local annotation, we everything will be fine. So we can use it with some. With the different architectures, we can use it in different cases. Of course, it's not for UI, but if you would like to share some kind of common management from architecture points, such as in common, for example, presenter of your model, you can do this. And of course, it's not work. It doesn't work with JPEG Android. Many people wait when it could be used with the JPEG and POS in both platforms, but I think it's we don't need this. And what else? Of course, because of differences of Kotlin and Swift, not every language structures can be ported and transmitted correctly. For example, problem of enums and seal classes in Kotlin. It's because of differences languages, but in every version of Kotlin native of Kotlin multi-platform, there are new improvements and there are new interruptions between Swift and Kotlin. So one day there will be no such problem. I think so.
Okay.
It will be solved.
Um. Okay. Let's leave Kotlin for a sec and talk on Swift. So, do you think that like Swift core team efforts will bring Swift into cross-platform development? I mean, currently you can run Swift code on Windows, on Linux, but it's not yet a language to build cross-platform libraries. Like it cannot replace Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile for now, but well, there are some efforts in making so, and like we even have Swift WebAssembly to run Swift code on the web. But like, do you see that as something possible? And if so, do you want to see Swift as like a strong competitor to Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile?
Mm, why not? I think that every technology could be used in several ways, and I think it will be interesting to look at this solution when it will be ready and to compare it between with the Kotlin multi-platform. For example, Swift multi-platform, why not? And especially if it will be some kind of official expertise from Apple, I would like to get such badge. And that was a joke. Well, Yeah, so honestly, why not? We knew a lot of examples of when some kind of technology was used to get some cross-platform and multi-platform experience. C sharp, and there we lived in a world of React Native and Flutter. So Flutter is some kind of special world with their special language and special everything. And of course, it's we remember that there were hybrid application that used web technologies to be used in
Yeah,
mobile application. For example, Cordova and other things. Why not?
right. Yeah, well, as of now, we do not see that happening, so we do not see any like direct steps into making that. But it seems that Apple like gradually makes Swift a good citizen on the server at least. I mean, that's visible. We see libraries, we see the recent proposal and even implementation of distributed actors, which are kind of interesting concept in like making the communication between your backend and your mobile device like native Swift structure. So you basically use like distributed actor, and that will call methods on some remote node, like it was like calling asynchronous method on your device. And that's something interesting. I mean, that's definitely needs some attention. But I also wanted to talk with you on some other topics, and that particular topic is not related to the development in Kotlin or Swift
Mhm.
itself, but rather the community. You have an opportunity to participate in multiple, like let's say, ecosystem communities, like Google community and like still Apple community, because you're Apple developer. Like you do a lot of code in Swift, you do a lot of code in Kotlin, and you are GD in Kotlin, Multiplatform Mobile, and like you have a lot of expertise and you participate in different communities. Do you see any difference in how these communities evolve in like is there any difference in how these communities work, because they are typically not too bound to each other, so they're typically like significantly separated, I would think.
Yes, I think I see a lot of differences. For example, it seems that Apple community seems to be more closed for some so for simple Apple developers who just create some kind of content. I remember last year in WWDC when new version of Swift UI was presented, the specialist from Apple um, thanked all of iOS developers who for from 2019 prepared a lot of different solutions. So and he told that. They were inspired by all this solution, and that is why they thanked all Apple developers. I also saw some kinds of sample of my code and some kind of code of my colleagues, for example, or other people I know, and that's yes, of course, it's really nice that they thanked all of us, but for me, I think so. It was a really great opportunity to get somewhere, but we are living in a pandemic time, and there is no opportunity at all. Speaking about Google community, it looks more open and without any bounds. It's just like one of the principles of this community. They are open for developers and for these developers to become an expert. Unfortunately, there is no such programs in Apple, only for students and or for those who would like to be Apple employers. And when I was middle iOS Android developer, I had an idea to get a lot of different pages. So I think that all the middle, I'm sorry,
God
all
bless
the
you.
middle developers in some time of this career, they would like to get a lot of badges, certificates, and some other signs to show everyone about their expertise. So to get a grade to become a senior. So we don't know how to become a senior and to get a great salary from the, for example, one or two Vyacheslav Kazula. So it's I think it's a dream for everyone. The course of Kazula is increasing every day. So and in this time I searched a different kind of certifications, and there were no certifications for iOS Apple developers at all. And in this time it was some kind of mode. It was a fashion between between companies that their employers need to get a lot of different certifications,
Right.
and without these certifications you have no opportunity to become a middle from a junior or senior from a middle. So it was a strange time. Now there is no such conditions.
Right.
People yeah, yes, people just look at your code and the results of your work. So, and I was disappointed with this fact that there were not such program. Googlers have more programs. For example, there is a program for students, program for experts, and in a lot of cities in Russia and all over the world, they have their own communities, and in this community they make meetups.
Okay.
It is a really nice place to become a speaker and to test and to increase your public speaking and some kind of expertise in some kind of talk. Unfortunately, there is no possibility with the Apple community. We have Swift forum. I found WWDC community in Discord, and this year I was a commentator in after two sessions. There was a little, it was about 10 or 20 minutes of my glory between them. Well, and so that's all. We have no opportunities to to become an expert or to get in this community. It's really hard. It's closed for the most of developers.
Well, yeah. So I think we as well, like we as a podcast, we're also participating in the community. We might need to take this seriously and like really make it easier to join the communities and share knowledge more and help other developers to study and to share their knowledge too. I mean, this is something we probably need to take care of. Just out of curiosity, you already mentioned that that Apple started the Tech Talks 2021, which are now probably will be going until the end of the year. So they are announcing sessions every 2 weeks. And did you watch? Did you attend any of the sessions, or maybe like join the open office hours?
No, I have no opportunity to get in open office, but I watched several series later. So it's really nice that they keep the videos, and it's really helpful for everyone. So the content is great. So and I think it's really nice way to create some kind to prepare some kind of talk to every conference. You should just watch the Apple series or WWDC, and then to prepare it with some kind of sample.
Yeah. And as of these tech talks which are going now, you should be aware that sessions they are a little bit different from what they used to. So there will be no recordings, and for the 1 hour session, you will have like something about from 20 to 30 minutes of presentation, which is typically like some recap on the technology, and the rest of the session is live Q&A where you can ask questions to the Apple experts, and they will provide answers. And like I attended a couple of the sessions which were hosted recently, and these sessions include a lot of interesting topics, and the answers are really honest, and some answers are quite important. For example, there was a session on the App Store review process, and some of the questions included, for example, what is the difference in the review of the applications which are targeting the public App Store or apps targeting the custom app distribution. And there is a difference in how Apple will review those apps. And there were a lot of technical topics, there were a lot of technical questions. So like if you're listening to this podcast and you want to ask something to like real Apple engineers, these tech talks is something to follow on. I mean, these are really an option. The sessions are like your questions will be answered either verbally by the expert or they will answer that in chat, but there will be questions from other developers, and sometimes you might hear the question which you didn't thought about, and that question will guide you to your maybe newer app or like some idea which you want to implement. So they publish the schedules every 2 weeks, and recently they published schedule for next upcoming weeks, and they will be publishing more and more, and some sessions will be rerun multiple times. So like again, that's for the Apple developers. Please try to get most of Apple engineers. They're sharing their knowledge and they're helping the apps to become better.
It seems
Before
it's
we
just
wrap
like
up,
some kind of open university, and it's really good that they turned to the people and to the developers.
Yeah, and one of the the bad thing, this is online. You do not have like in-person discussion. The good thing, it is online, and you can join from like any country, any location. There is no limits. Previously, Tech Talks were hosted, for example, in Berlin or like in London, in somebody, and you have to travel there. Now you can like sit in the comfort of your home, and they even run these sessions in multiple time zones. And that's again for those who want to attend the session, which is hosted by Cupertino time. Like you can wait, and they will probably do the rerun running in European time or maybe like Asian time. Like it depends, and therefore, like again, this is even better than WWDC because this will take more time. They have more open office hours. They will have more sessions. This is something which will give developers a lot of benefits. But yeah, before we wrap up, I have one question to you, and this question is, again, from your perspective, from your experience, what would you recommend to those who are interested in the development, who want to start doing their mobile apps, be it Swift or Kotlin Multiplatform? What would you recommend? What would you like? How would you encourage them to continue?
Well, at first, I would like to say that it's wrong to tell that what is the better, Android or iOS. Both platforms are really good, and if you know how to work with both platforms, your salary is bigger and it's good. Yes, and you know more, and it's also good for your brain. Just try not to burn it while working. So overtiming is not good. So both platforms are really good, and you would like to begin with, for example, if you have Android device and you are Android user, for example, it's maybe simpler for you to begin with Android, and you can just download Android Studio, open Android Developers Guide and Kotlin Guide, and there is a lot of different courses, and you can do with Android development. And if you would like to be iOS developer and you think that iOS is better, and for example for you it is better, you can also, so you need to buy a MacBook or Mac. Well, if you have
And they are,
no
by the
problem
way,
with
they are
this,
really good now. Yeah, so like they
yes,
recently announced quite good
well,
MacBooks, right?
yes,
Pricey, but good.
I'm translating. So I'm transmitting from my second MacBook. My first one need to be repaired because of problems with accumulators. But I
Yeah.
worked on it and doing both Android and iOS in one MacBook for 4 years. Not 5 years, about 4.5 years.
Okay.
So if you would like to be iOS developer, you can also start with this. It is also a lot of different courses. It's both companies, both platforms use code labs and opportunities for students, some challenges for students, and it's nowadays it's really easy to become a mobile developer because there is all kind of contents. When we began with the mobile development, it was less of it, and it was simpler to become. If you have no opportunities to buy MacBook at moment, you wanted to get it, you needed to get some kind of virtual machine and uh, some kind of system to install with it, and then you needed to monitor your system not to update, because when
Right.
it
Right.
tried to update, everything will be shut down. Then your if you haven't saved your work in some kind of cloud, there was no opportunity for you to get it back. So it was hard time. We used sticks and stones, but now we are cool developer experts.
Right. And if somebody will want to ask questions, they will probably be able to find you on Twitter, right?
Yes, I have a Twitter. I have my own Telegram channel where I write some kind of news. So, of course, I publish there about my articles, about my talks, about, for example, these podcasts, and also some other news about mobile development. I publish there. Unfortunately, not so regularly because of my job, but yes, you can find me on Twitter. Also, I have my own GitHub, and when I prepared to Kotlin GDE, so I could tell a lot of information how to prepare with, or maybe if you are interested to become a Kotlin GDE, or maybe some other programs. For example, I'm also woman tech maker, and for everyone, welcome to my Twitter, to my Telegram channel, and you can ask me, even boys and girls, there is no segregation, about development, how to become developer, what is better, and about Kotlin Multiplatform, some technologies, and so on, and some other programs. I can, well, with I can help you. You're welcome.
Perfect. We will add every link you mentioned into show description, so you will be able to find it there and navigate whenever you wanted to. With that, I would like to thank you for this interesting talk. Really
Thank you,
inspiring,
Dennis.
and this is really like the friendship between platforms probably should be like as a good solution. Like we shouldn't be blaming other platforms. We shouldn't be sharing something between them. And Kotlin Multiplatform Mobile has its own place in the development ecosystem, as does Kotlin and Swift. So again, thank you very much for coming. And for those who are listening us, viewing us, we will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.